Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
All right, you're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper.
You know, could we do this show remotely in case the COVID took everybody?
Zoom?
If we had whatever shelter in place?
We could. In fact, we should do, everybody's having to do that thing. We should do a disaster recovery test.
Should I run down to the office right now?
Ted's going to hightail it somewhere else.
What's a disaster recovery test?
To make sure that, like, in a lot of businesses set it up, so, like, if a disaster were to occur, they've got alternative call centers and infrastructure set up somewhere where the disaster wasn't, so that you know, the operations can be moved over there until the disaster passes at the prime location. And so, obviously, you don't just set that up and hope it works. You do disaster recovery testing once a quarter or whatever to make sure that, in the case of a disaster, you could just flop it over.
Oh.
So, like, our stuff is in India or the Philippines or something, and so, like, once a quarter, we, like, full shutdown of something overnight and see if we just transferred our full infrastructure over there, did it work? So that, you know, you don't get caught with your knee-high socks in the time.
Nope. See how I tried to cut you off there?
Yeah. Anyway.
That's great.
You kept talking.
I'm disappointed in 10 years we've not done that here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've yet to come across a disaster.
I
Okay.
mean, we should be prepared. We're not prepared.
Yeah.
That's my point.
We've
had 10 years to get prepared. We're not. Right?
That's true. Okay, we can give it a shot.
Just
Hey,
nerds.
you're listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey, here's a good stat for the week, boys. In light of all that's going on with the COVID and people are stuck at home and they're having to pass their time, the podcast numbers are not up.
Oh.
Ooh.
They're exactly the same.
The YouTube numbers are not up.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the presence, so here's the deal. The people that are digging on the show are people that always dig on the show. We do not produce stragglers or interested people.
Yeah.
They don't say, "Hey, I'm interested. I might take a glance at that."
Actually, it concerned me after everyone hit the face. People were Facebook streaming and TikToking or whatever all week, like with their own personal stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, what kind of chance do we have in a world like this?
Yeah.
Right? If everybody's out producing content, us old dogs who were ignored when we were the only game in town. I mean, we just got
Putting forth quality content.
Yeah. I mean, we got no chance. I mean, there's dudes out there with one guitar and his 3-year-old daughter on the screen. And they're outgunning us for numbers.
Yep.
They got nothing.
Do you think some of these people will be embarrassed later, or is it just cool? Because the whole time I'm thinking, I'm kind of embarrassed for, like, most of the church right now.
Yeah.
What happens in 20 years when someone's running for president and they pull up their original TikTok profile?
Right? Yeah.
Like, that scares me.
I mean, what happens in, like, 3 weeks when the virus is over and everybody's like, can you believe all the crap people put out?
Yeah. Here's
Like, no, here's what I'm
I
doing.
think we might have failed this disaster thing.
Yeah. Here's what's super hard. And maybe this is advice, maybe it's not. But, like, you got to own your situation. So what is appreciated in times like this, and this is always true for the church guys, is that, like, when you're earnestly trying your best in the situation that you're in, people appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you try to bat above your league, like, you know you're not capable of pulling something off well, and you attempt to do it anyway, and everybody knows you're not pulling it off well except for you, or you're trying to fake it, you look silly.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the bloopers going around? It's really hilarious. Like, people who didn't know, like, the thing was over or whatever. Kind of like the Biden thing, but there's, like, a lot of preachers that have done stuff and that, like, they're like, is this on?
Excuse me.
Yeah, you're actually on. Streaming live right now.
Is everyone looking at me?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just my circles. I
Yeah.
get to see things like that.
Yeah. You just got to be, you just got to be honest with what you're, where you're at, and to the extent that we try to, and like, if it's temporary and you know that, then fine. Like, the webcam at the guy's kitchen table is okay as long as everyone is admitting that this is the thing, and we're not gonna buy a bunch of equipment and try to upgrade our situation. This is just what it is. If you have other reasons and you're able to do something good, you should do it well. But past that, like, people can smell fake.
It's kind of interesting that that this put all the churches out there, like, on the same level. Mega churches were like blanking out on Facebook. And so were the church of 50 that, like, hey, we got ourselves a cam,
right?
You know, because everybody was doing it and Facebook couldn't handle it, you know,
right.
and YouTube and everything. And so I thought that was just kind of interesting. I don't know what I thought. I just thought maybe funny, maybe interesting. Maybe
It is serving
kinda
as a
sick.
pretty across the board equalizer.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just like we're all in the same boat here.
Yeah.
I did think it was a little weird, like for a lot. Most people did it, so I shouldn't, But to pretend like it's real, I thought that was weird.
Oh,
Like,
right.
Like bring in all the singers and the band and get all the lights going. They're like, woo! It's like, how about we just face, hey, this is where we're at.
Right.
Guess what? We're all hunkered down. Let's pretend we're hunkered down. Wait, we are.
Right.
I mean,
Even for
I'm gonna-
even for like a pretty high tech modern worship set, right? Like, have you ever been to a concert and you're like, yeah, that was awesome, and then you watch like the video on your phone later and you're
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't as cool. As
Right,
like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't gonna do it no justice. Like, there's the thing about being in a room with X number of people and the
Yeah.
energy. You can
Yeah.
feel the energy rising, and like when you on your couch in your Scooby Doo's, you ain't gonna feel that, right?
Yeah,
That you're
yeah.
fooling yourself.
I'm like way minority in that thought, but
Well, I think it's one of the. I was thinking about it this week. Is that one of the things that I think the wrong marker from a church perspective is to feel like you're a content producer. Hey, our
Right.
job on Sunday morning is to otherwise produce really great content on the line of, hey, everyone watches the Matt Chandler sermon from the Village Church, or everyone's because here's the thing is that like when it comes down to it, there's guys that are way better at preaching than I am, right?
Right.
And so if it's simply just going to be a contest between who preaches better, I don't need to even go. I'll just say, look, just watch this fella.
yeah.
But it's not that. And I think the same thing with the music. Like there's some people where like that's their natural deal. They can pull off a 20-piece a band with people in the audience, not in the audience, and it's made for broadcast. That is a content push. That's different than if your church isn't set up to do that and you try to do that. Then again, you're saying let's do battle of the musicians here. And again, there's people that are better. You'll find better. I think there remains something unique in the church that like are there better pastors? Yep. Better worship musicians? Yep. More enthusiastic crowds? Better set design? Better lighting design? Better equipment? Yes. But it's your local church, and I think that matters. I think it matters that it's your local gathering. I think it matters that it's the person that teaches you or the group of people that teach you. I think it matters that it's your worship musician. And I'm short on tangibles to show you in my hand and say I know that this makes a difference, but like I feel in my bones that it does. And so people will watch the low tech option coming from their 50-person church. We're a house church. We've got 35, 40. Most are kids. We tried to stream for people who couldn't leave their place, and they could have watched anything else, but they watched ours, and it was low rent, and it was wide shot in a living room, but it was us.
But you're right. That's where it works.
Yes.
Yeah. We encourage a lot of commenting and everything, and people were talking about what color their socks were or whatever. That wouldn't go in the mass market. I mean, nobody
That's
cares.
right.
The
Right.
person in Illinois doesn't care what color socks
That's
Joe
right.
has on. But we had some fun with it.
Yep.
And yeah, and that's cool. It's like you're doing community. It just happens to be anybody out there could see it. If
Yep.
they've stumbled upon it somehow.
Well, and you'd rather have them walk into a community than a content push.
Yeah.
And that's the risk, that was kind of the heads up to churches. If you're on the other side of this thing, you're going to have access to a lot of different things. I'm always for taking in as much as you can, but just recognize that at least from my opinion, there's something that remains unique about your local church body, your specific community, and don't make it a content war. Because your local church shouldn't be fighting a content war for the masses. They should be looking to serve you in the best way possible, and it's okay if they do it awesomely with their technology. But like that is their focus, and when it becomes a content push, I think we don't think about the local church correctly. And I think it's not a risk to listen to other things. I think you should just be careful on how we start comparing. When things feel equal, we start measuring them equally, and I think that becomes a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't excuse, listen, just to clear, that doesn't excuse local churches to put out crappy content. Do a good job, but just that's you're not putting on a production. You're meeting with your community. This is the way you're doing it.
We did. I marked down 2,462 for attendance, though.
Good.
We got like 400 and some views, and there were multiple families in some of those just from the pictures we knew, and so I just multiplied it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every one of those views watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Sure, definitely.
Because that's
You
Facebook
can put
wouldn't
those
tell
numbers up on the Sunday school attendance and main church attendance board that you
Yeah.
keep just to the left that you still manually change out with the numbers. 2,400. Holy cow!
Last week, 235.
And then
This
the
week,
fire marshal will come in and go. Now, what do you
7,000.
say, Mr. Hudson?
So real quick question, boys. Maybe this is easy, maybe it's not. But in light of spending a week in interesting times as it relates to the COVID-19, various impacts on schools being shut down, some businesses not having you work from the office anymore, or otherwise being essential, lacking toilet paper, whatever. What did you learn this week? Let's start with you, Buva. What'd you learn this week?
Oh man, I'm trying to not just have a negative light on this, but we do not know how to occupy our time correctly at all, in any way, shape, or form. We just don't. In the absence of work, somehow this has turned into an insane time for people. Like, they just have no idea how to occupy their lives.
Yeah, your job's pretty much out right now, isn't it?
No, I'm one of a couple people that are still working full time. So.
Oh, okay. Because there's
Yeah.
like no events and stuff.
Yeah, no. So it's yeah. So I'm basically trying to build the company while we've got time off, and so working for a small business has been interesting because I'm taking this time to kind of build their infrastructure and develop them to be a company that can last this kind of thing going forward. So I'm lucky enough that I've still got a job, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, for those that don't, it's interesting to see people have to figure out how to spend their time, and we don't know how to be productive without the one thing that feels like it's actually giving us worth, which is our jobs, and that scares me. That scares me that so many people right now feel a lack of self-worth because they don't have a job. They have families and they have people that they care about, and they've got all this different stuff, but for some reason they just don't see that as something that offers them worth versus how much money they make and what they do throughout their 40-hour work weeks.
Okay, right on. Dan, what'd you learn this week?
Oh boy, one people are insane. Okay, but secondly is how do I respond to their insanity? I need to live in their reality enough to not look down on them or mock them, because that's my nature.
What?
What?
Dan.
What? But be sensitive and because people are there are people genuinely scared about this.
Yep.
And I keep going, it's the flu. So I have to be careful, just to back off, and appreciate where they're coming from. There is some risk, maybe, but it's hard to come up with all these hard statistics when we don't have all the data.
Yeah.
What is the death rate? Well, we don't know. It's really bad.
Yep.
I mean, is it? We don't know. We don't know how many people have it. Anyway, that's I guess empathy. I gotta learn.
It's forcing empathy into Dan's world.
I've tried to fake it at least.
Yeah. That is, yeah. Mike, what'd you learn this week?
I don't like asking the people at the gas station to get my food out of the warmer.
Oh man, that is weird.
Yeah, because actually, they take real advantage of the situation, right? Like, you used to be able to go in and grab yourself 2 slices of pizza, and I would look over to pizza and find where they got the amateur cutting it, and I would take the 2 biggest ones in there.
Yeah.
Because like on both sides of the pizza, there's going to be 2 gigantos because the man doesn't know how to cut it right. And I thought, yeah, every day it was fine. And then since I'm not allowed to do that anymore, I'm at the whim of the guy that cut it.
They
He always gives me the donated to charity slice. Always the super tiny parts. And then, this is terrible, and then they decide they want to package them in a more closed plastic carton, so they cut them even smaller and double them up and stick them in there. And it still don't equal a whole piece of pizza. Same price, though. Same price.
I had my hands sanitized as I went into Trader Joe's this afternoon.
Like, there's a person there doing it?
There's a person there doing it.
Oh.
I don't mean to just piggyback off of what you said, Mike. That's a situation. As someone who has very, very often taken advantage of the big pizza slices in my life, like
that one.
You bet yourself that I'm the guy that walks in and I'm like, I'll distract the guy cutting the pizza so that I can guarantee there's 2 big slices.
Yeah.
I've lived that life before. I understand that, but for some reason, I walked into Trader Joe's today to get myself some sunflower butter. Don't judge me. And
Some what?
Sunflower butter.
Hey man, I took the last one at Trader Joe's 4 days ago.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Okay, sorry. This is totally not for what our content is supposed to be. Did they up the prices of almond butter?
Oh, I don't check prices.
I live in a different world than
I'm
you.
sorry. Hold up. Do you guys want to know what I learned during this pandemic? Ben's the kind of guy that walks into the Trader Joe's and doesn't check the prices.
Here's the
Wow,
reason-
I'm pretty sure there are rappers that boast about that
Hold
too.
on.
Are you cool with that?
it's different than what you think. My wife checks prices like a fiend.
Okay.
My wife very well knows what I'm
Okay,
supposed to buy
all
or
right.
not. So if she says buy the almond butter at the Trader Joe's, I don't look at the price.
I'm the same way at the restaurants. I say, I'll take a number 3.
I'm really glad that's
care
the
the price.
situation. I thought you were the guy going, oh, whatever it is, I know I can afford it. I'm not worried about it. That's totally how that sounded. You should have started with the story of my wife checks the prices.
So I'm half worried about it. My wife is just awesome at this, and so yeah, like there's a reason we go to 3 different places, and she knows where to get the right stuff,
Yeah.
and so I just get the stuff I'm supposed to.
All right, fair enough.
I've never been to Trader
Yeah,
Joe's.
You're missing out. Trader Joe's is awesome. I used to make fun of it hardcore. I thought it was the total hipster place to go to, but they just have sweet prices on deals. Like they got good stuff, and it's good products.
Yep.
But I had my hands sanitized walking in, and a gal with blue hair and camo pants walked up to me and said, "Can I sanitize your hands?" And then squirted it onto my hands. It was not a question.
I guess so.
The question was a pleasantry.
You make me all tingly.
You're right. She said, "Can I spray this?" Shh. I'm like, well, apparently, yep, you sure can. Thank you so much.
So I had that experience at the Casey's with the you got to ask people to get stuff out of the warmer. Like they didn't have the donuts are out, the donuts are not out, and they rednecked the thing. They just took some duct tape and duct taped the warmer with the sausage sandwiches shut.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And like first of all, the sausage sandwiches are already in a plastic container.
Mm-hmm.
What am I gonna do? Anyway, so I go back there, and I never buy donuts, but this morning we had someone stay the night, and so like, hey, we go get us donuts. I'm like, yeah, I'll go get some donuts. So I go out there and like I look, and my first reaction was, there's no freaking donuts here. Where are all the donuts? It's like 8 a.m, and so they had it in the back, and like I'm not gonna tell you which one it was, but I'll tell you this: there was a Debbie working back there. You know Debbie I'm talking about, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a Debbie, and so you know Debbie, who's done made all this food, is sitting back, hand on her hip, going like this. And I say, hey, I need to get a few donuts. Okay. And she stares at me. And I said, I need 3 chocolate, 3 glazed. Okay. And so then she
Sounds wonderful.
gets 3 chocolate out, puts it in the box, and then she steps to the side of the donut thing and looks me in the face again and goes, okay.
Huh.
And I stared at her for a minute, and I said, okay. 3 chocolate and 3 glazed. Okay. And then she gets the 3 glazed out and is like disappointed in me that I've had her reach in there a second time. Like, this is not my process, friends. I would have picked from the group case. I'm all right with it. It was really awkward. And here's the deal. I'm not buying donuts at Casey's again until they take this out. I can't do it.
No.
It just it's socially awkward for me. I can't do it.
No.
Here's the deal. You need to go to Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme knows what they're doing. They are used to this, and it's not a problem. You can do this in the drive-thru, and they dig it. There's a Krispy Kreme over on E6 you need to go to.
Did I ever tell you about that donut joint I went to when I was in Colorado? Called the Colorado. Oh no.
No, that sounds awesome.
Oh man. I
Oh,
don't
you
know
need
where-
to now.
I
Did you
don't
feel
know.
funny afterward?
Oh man, I think I told you guys about this dude.
Yeah.
I walked in there. I took the 4 of us in there for breakfast or whatever. I spent $95
Oh my.
because that guy he's just the slickest, most easiest dude to get along with you're ever. Right? Like I'll be like, I'll have this sandwich. He goes, you gonna have avocados on that thing? I'm like, yeah, sure. He goes, how about a shot of tequila with that? I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. I mean, everybody. I'm like, no, that's all right. He goes, yeah. I'm like, I didn't even drink it. I didn't drink no tequila. It's 9 a.m. What's the matter with you? You know? And like he's making cool comments to the kids. You know, the kids are like, I'll have a milk, and he's like, you want camel's milk or cow's milk? And he'll wink at them, you know, or something. And I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, camel's milk. Turns out those cost an extra $5 or something.
Oh.
So
Is that legit milk from a camel?
no, it's just regular milk.
Okay.
But then he's like,
Camel cigarette?
he's like, you know what I'll do though? I'll give you a full cup of cream to go with it. And so he would. He put a bunch of whipped cream in a cup. Kids thought he was the coolest guy in the world. I pay the man. He's like, stay sexy. And then I go off away from my food. I'm like, what happened here? I've been totally suckered in by the Colorado man. But here's the thing. I went back the next day. He did the exact same thing.
Rip me off again, sir.
Oh, he's the best. If you ever, I can't remember what part of Colorado this place is in, but if you ever get a chance to go to the Colorado, I mean, this man is, He's walking sex on a stick, this guy. I mean, you just cannot get out of there. I don't know how he does it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Okay. So what I learned this week.
Nobody asked you.
No, I know. I'm running the program, so I get to ask myself. It's a very good idea to keep your mouth shut. And I didn't learn that in the negative. I learned that in the positive. I read a lot of things.
Oh.
And I said very, very next to nothing where I could avoid it. Only when it had to justify some decision I made about something. And then even then, very minimal. It's fine. It's fine and I'm a better man for it. I thought about, there was 2 or 3 times where I thought, first I thought, hey, I should say something about this. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And I thought, I'm going to say the thing like a step away that kind of implies that I'm talking about this thing, but I'm not going to say it directly. I said, no, I hate that about other people. I'm not doing that either. And then I cut it off, and that was it. And it's been great. It's been fabulous.
That's phenomenal.
You know what I'm really disappointed in is pastors and all these. I mean, okay, it's different pastor groups, right?
Yeah.
And they're like totally like attacking each other for the opposite decision, whether you stayed open or didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like being mean to each other, like degrading, and I'm just like,
what are we doing here,
what
fellas?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Isn't this when the church rises up to the challenge? You know, it's like, no, you're stupid. You hate Jesus.
So I mean, here's the thing: is this particular virus spreading has glossed away the veneer of a lot of things, right? Like you get to see past what everybody wanted you to think, right?
Yep.
Like America is inherently selfish. We're just selfish people, right? When we're making a run on beef and toilet paper, when neither one of those industries are even close to being a problem, we're just inherently selfish, right? And then same thing with church, right? Like if the government says, "Hey, shut down the congregation," you should probably consider doing that, right? Like you're part of a
not defined by the Sunday morning attendance,
right? Like what? It's not a big deal. People aren't going to leave. They're like, "Oh, they've given up on Yahweh." No, we haven't, right? Look, we're trying to stop the spread of a disease. This makes perfect sense. If the building had flooded because of a sprinkler that broke overnight and there was just no way to salvage it, by the time Dan got in there at 7, we wouldn't go, "The Lord's presence has left us. We canceled today. We'll never run again." I mean, it's just way out of bounds over the top. It is so worshiping a religion opposed to what James calls religion, right? Like, it's way missed the mark. And so, like, the funny thing about this virus, I mean, it is what it is. It's a thing. It's very dangerous for some people. Mm-hmm. It's semi-dangerous for other people. I'm completely okay with the steps that we're taking to try to keep it away from the people that it's going to hurt. These are not things that I'm worried about giving up. If I got to stay out of work for a couple, 3 weeks, if I got to go to the store once a week, whatever, right? These aren't the things. It's not a big deal. But the reactions that it's showing of what people's, I don't know, of who they actually are. Like, it gets to blow past all the niceties and the crazy come out. It's like Teen Wolf. You know what I'm saying? Like, the virus is a full moon, and here come Teen Wolf out, and you're like, I know you. You're fairly reasonable. What are you doing? Every day it's the same thing. Facebook, a 4 or 5 paragraph rant. What's wrong with you? Yeah. Will you calm down? Go do your laundry or something.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to stop doing this. Here I am again.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? One of the funniest things was the mix of people and how they react to things. Like, where we thought we had a political divide, I don't think we have a political divide. I've seen some very extreme right and left folks agree on one thing, and then some very extreme right and left folks completely agree on another thing in your reaction to what the government is doing. We love the government. The government's the worst thing that's ever happened. These people are trying to kill us. They're trying to save us. And odd mixes of people coming together. I think the reason we think Democrat Republican is because we've given people clear lines where they thought, oh, I have to choose one. I might as well choose this one. It's way more complicated than that. You just start the conversation with a different line, and people will resort themselves out, and they won't end up in the same place they were before.
It's super, like, I the thing that sticks with me over this week is like when they loaded up the military medical ships, right?
Yeah.
97% of the country had no idea these existed, right? Like where we keep them if we get them out, what they look like. I imagine like a big white ship with a red cross on it. It doesn't look like that, right? But like this is what I think. And so what you get is a bunch of armchair finger waggers. They're like, I know the whole thing. Bobbity, bobbity, bobbity. I'm like, why didn't you dispatch the ships last week then, Mister? I know everything. You didn't even know we had the ships. You didn't even know they were there. You had no clue. And you were like, I got this thing by the tail. I know the whole deal. We should do this. I'm like, you know some. And here's the thing. Dan's right. You have to look past people's bloviated vomit on social media and go, their heart is in there somewhere.
There's a fear in here.
They love people.
Yeah.
They want to protect people. They don't know how to do it. And because their arm is only 3 foot long, they decide that they're going to go after people with bigger arms and assume that they're doing it wrong. That's probably the wrong assumption, but I understand that you're saying we just want to help people. But like, once again, I don't know how many times in my life that I've been found out to be wrong because I did not have all the information. Somebody told me one thing. I went and found the guy, and I said, hey, man, and he goes, what? That's not what happened. It was da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm like, oh, man, I've made a complete Balaam out of myself.
You were a jerk.
Right? I'm like, dang. And so, like, once again, we cannot hold 15-hour press conferences to give you every detail. And frankly, as soon as we do, the whole process slows down to a crawl. You try to rule the whole thing by committee, it's going to take forever to make a decision. And they're going to make wrong ones. Whatever task force, I wish Pinch would put away this stupid blue chart he keeps holding up with like 15 days of quarantine. It's like the only thing the man knows how to do is to show this weird chart. But like, whatever. They're going to make mistakes. And they're gonna be really wrong about some other things. But you don't have any information, sir. You got nothing.
Yeah, I thought that was great. They interviewed that guy Fauci or whatever his name is, the head medical dude who's part of the task force, and like some science magazine interviewed him. And of course the magazine was loaded. They're like, tell me, when you look back at this, what's going to be the most egregious mistake that the Trump administration made? Like, oh yeah, that's a nice softball question. Yeah. But the guy's answer was totally. He's like, in hindsight, we're gonna look back and say, boy, we thought that was really the thing, and we find out that we didn't handle it right. It says like, and something this big, when you're trying to move this fast with this much information, he goes, you're gonna do the best you can with what you have, basically, but you're going to make a mistake. Anybody that thinks that you're not is foolish, and anybody from the armchair who thinks that you wouldn't make a mistake in some way or another that doesn't have significant impact. Like, here's the deal: you make fun of politicians all day long, but their decisions have major impact. They make a mistake, and it's significant. It's not your house. It's not your community,
right.
Generally. It's the country.
Because the dudes that we're talking about, like, they'll go on Facebook and rant for days. And if they're wrong, it just goes away.
There's no consequence to it.
It just goes away. It's not a big deal, right? And so, like, Ben's right. Like, the like them, love them, or hate them, they do make decisions, and they do impact people. And once again, the folks that we're talking about, governors, mayors, senators, and the president, they're trying to run a country of free Americans, and we're hard cattle to wrangle. Right? It doesn't matter what you tell them. 25% of them are going to give you the double guns and do whatever they want.
Somebody quoted an article where, like, he didn't say this externally, but like, they said Trump has been ranting to his staff. Is like, what good does it do for me to put people in quarantine if 20% isn't going to listen? I'm like, I mean, at least he sees the situation correctly.
That's correct.
That is what's happening.
All of America, even the people that voted for him. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're in the 20%. They're out there shooting armadillos right now and then hugging them and giving them to their buddies. They do not care. And that's the thing is when you have a free people and a free democracy, you have to we don't have big rebellions because most people are free to rebel. Right. And so that's the thing is when you try to cinch it down even for the best of reasons, people give you the finger and they'll do whatever they want.
This one it became kind of more real to the seriousness to me. Is my daughter Shanna's in dental school in Iowa, and she came and visited her and her husband for the weekend, and went back, and then like a few days later we find out, well, someone in her dental school has been diagnosed with it, right? Yep. So she's been exposed. She came home, we're exposed my other daughter, who this Saturday was planning to go see Grandpa, who has stage 4 cancer,
mm-hmm.
right? So they're like, we're not going to go now because we just don't know.
Yep.
Nobody feels sick. Nobody, but that's it. It's like,
yep.
Nobody was being irresponsible anywhere. They just kept moving around.
Right.
And it's like, just stop moving around, and it won't matter.
That's right.
It'll all end in a couple weeks. We're going to stretch this thing out for 9 months.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it definitely is going to stretch out.
Well,
for a while.
and the thing is that like it's easy. This is where there's a lot of reasonable conversation to have here. There's a lot of things that reasonable people can go. Is this too far? Is it not far enough? There is a cost. Like, could you lock everybody down for 2 or 3 weeks? Yeah, you certainly could. And will it eventually work? I mean, it should, right? Like, it should stop passing. But like, Mike, for you, hey, you stop working for 2 to 3 weeks, and maybe they pay you, maybe they don't, maybe it doesn't matter. But like, is that true for the 7 million people that are waiting tables and washing dishes at restaurants that aren't open? And like, does that economic impact start to cause people who no longer, they're not eating well, or they're stuck at home with kids, people are sick with other things? Don't tweet me. I don't care. I don't want to argue about those things. What I'm telling you is that like, these are right types of questions, of which we're not going to have perfect answers. That's the thing, is that like you can there's plenty of smart people in all echelons who are aware of most of these questions, and there's probably not a great answer, because here's the thing: you could probably you get a bunch of sharp guys in a room, and they come with a lot. They can probably come up with a lot of nuanced behavior. This group of people should probably behave this way. This group of people this way. These industries should blah, blah, blah. And you could probably put 100 pages together of something that is like least disruptive, maximum potential. And no one's going to understand it, and no one's going to follow it. You know what they do get? Stay home.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's parts of me that's like, stay home. Yeah, okay. Like, but it's not about me, right? And you live in a community, you live in a broader situation, and just recognize that like sometimes you have to take the path of least resistance, knowing that there were costs to it. We do this so like a lot of times, even from my work perspective, I work in a financial services industry. Sometimes we change a policy that should be way more nuanced than what for cost, to be able to care for people in the proper way. Like, we can make 10 distinctions, but no one will follow it, no one will understand it. So we make one. And it costs us a little bit more money for some. It probably doesn't provide the best experience for another group of people. But you know what? Everybody understands. It's clear, and we can communicate it clearly, and it doesn't feel like it's too complicated. And so that's what you do. And so is it possible there's elements of that in here? I think there probably are. But like, that's what I'm saying.
Are you trying to say that like if they were going to mandate like a stay home thing, that they're using a lot of flowery language to get there, and they should have just all called the thing already and said, look, instead of saying social distancing or be healthy for those around you, or like conceptual things, they should have just said, look, you need to stay at your house. You can leave once a week to go get groceries. That's it.
Yeah, which I think they're getting to. So like, as I think, the more they're finding that like, if you're vague, people will do whatever they want. Or if we say, hey, we were talking about this before we started, if you get to deem you're an essential business, GameStop says, hey, we do video games, we're essential because everyone's playing video games right now.
Mental health.
Well, right, so there's a large bucket of people who can just decide whether they're essential or not. But then different states and different places are going, well, bars, restaurants, tattoos, hair salons, yes. But you left out like other things, which probably certainly qualify, but you didn't have time to spec out. It just gets, I'm just saying, it gets complicated. And so just have some grace with people trying to sort it out well. And I think, to your point, Mike, what you were talking about earlier, is that recognize when we feel like we don't have any control, we try to assert it. And when you try to assert it and control, especially over things like social media or decrying what other people are doing, just recognize you still don't have any control. What you're doing is just projecting the falsehood, which is the same thing as the church overplaying its hand on a Sunday morning when it's broadcasting from its living room when it can't do it well.
Okay, so hold on now, because now I feel a bit hypocritical here. Because why is that dude irritating me? Right? Like, guy goes on a 4-paragraph rant about how everybody's doing it all wrong. Like, I need to have the same grace for that guy as I'm asking him for whatever the dudes in charge that are trying to figure this thing out.
Yes, absolutely. So,
and that's not true. I'm not having that same balanced reaction.
Of course, I contacted a guy this week that was like, dude, you're on a rampage. Like, honestly,
right?
You understand half the people who know you are completely disagree with you.
Right.
You're just driving a wedge. Just really, really calm down.
Yeah.
I don't. It seemed to help a little bit, but I mean, so sometimes you need a little wake up, like kind of a slap in the face. Like that's all the guy needed was just a
yeah.
And it's still not, still figuring it out.
Well, but it goes.
It's legit fear.
Yeah. It goes back to the earlier point. Is that like Mike? You're saying more likely to give grace to the people who are trying to handle these decisions, the people who are afraid on the other side that are criticizing whatever in whatever means, or criticizing other people for either supporting or not supporting the decisions. Those people are operating from the same principle. They've never been through something like this before, at least to their perception. And so they're reacting from fear, lack of control, probably lack of information, or they feel like they're the only people who have any information, so they're misguided. Whatever it is.
I mean, here's the thing: almost every major mistake in history has been started by a man that said, "I'm the only guy that gets this. Here's the deal." And then he runs off and Jim Baker's in the woods or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like David Koresh's the joint. That he thinks that I'm the only one that understands this thing. You're not the only one that understands this thing. I think that's the thing. Is maybe the thing that bothers me is the flat out arrogance of it, right? Not to say that we don't have problems in our leadership, right? But the flat out arrogance of like, you're not even looking realistic at some of this stuff, right? Like, I have the same amount of people doomsdaying the thing on my Facebook, with the other 50% are like, this is actually not a thing, or it was recreated in a lab, and there's some kind of weird conspiracy thing, but the Wuhans are coming after us, or whatever, you know. And I'm sitting here, I'm reading both of them. I'm like, neither one of these are a seasoned, reasonable, conceptual deal, right? All of it is pumped full of drama and fear and barking, and like, no one could be taking this in, and I'll be hot dog if there's people taking it in. They're like, yeah, that's the deal. The guy from the CDC, oh yeah, he's one of Trump's stock investors. He knows nothing about the CDC. I'm like, what is that? What are you talking about? That is not even true. You know? So it's the lack of rationality, and once again is because of technological advances. People are used to thinking, making an opinion, and then projecting it within 5 seconds, right? I saw what that guy said. Here's my instant reaction, blah.
Like
right?
Ben said, with no consequences.
With zero
Then you move on,
consequences.
do it again.
Right? And then 6 months from now, or a year from now, when we're talking about the San Diego Padres had been caught in some kind of drug scandal, no one's going to remember what you whack jobs said about the coronavirus, and it's just going to forget it, right? But you are more than willing to take the biggest stick you own and beat down doctors that are staying up 22 hours out of the day with all the information and call them the worst people you ever met. And like, that seems too far to me. I mean, trust me, I don't know those people. They could be secret jerks. They could kick puppies, and they could be on heroin for all I know. But what I do know is that they have all the information. I have like 10%. They have some doctorates and some knowledge, and like, I don't believe everything that comes out of their mouth, but sometimes it takes a little bit of humility to just serve here. Does it hurt me to stay home and do what they're asking? No. So I'm just going to serve.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And I think that's one of that's a good broad takeaway, which is you have to know what you can control. So like, maybe there's nuanced things where here I'm like, the direction of this, maybe I don't even think that's going to help. Maybe I think that. Is it of any consequence if I think that? Does it do anything?
Let me tell everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it likely to shift or change? Or in the presence of whatever I think, are there still people who need serve here? Are there still people who are afraid, of which we have good news? Like, is there a means? Is it okay? Maybe just a slight balance here is to say, I think it's perfectly okay to ask questions. Like, in moments of consequence, it's perfectly cool to say, look, I'm wondering about this. But if you can't do that while showing humility and the grace of Christ and have it not impinge totally the church for you having done it, then you better just keep your mouth shut. I think there's people who can ask reasonable questions and say, are we thinking through this well? Because to the same thing where there are things that have changed by one person standing up and going, hey, I'm not sure we're thinking about this right.
You can't saddle everybody quiet. There's good upstarts.
And I think that's all right. But you still have to do it well. Regardless of where you're at here, you have to do it well. I don't care if you completely disagree with the president or the governor or state and local officials or the doctors or the CDC, but damn it, you should do it well.
That's right. Your first comment can't be so-and-so's an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not an idiot, right? Like, they didn't do the thing you wanted them to do. That doesn't make them an idiot. It just means that you don't agree with them, right? Now, you can get into your reasons. That's the thing. I'd like to see more reasons and more reasonable talk. Like, look, I just completely disagree with what the governor of Iowa did. I feel like we should be on complete lockdown. I'm not really sure what they're waiting on. Can someone help me understand? Because this seems like we are throwing the frisbee in the pond here. I think that's a reasonable statement. That's not what I saw. The governor of Iowa did not call a complete lockdown, and what I saw was, she's an idiot. Okay, I mean, she's obviously not an idiot. You know, she's not. You don't like her. You don't agree with her, but she's not an idiot. I don't even know her, you know? Right. And so, like, I think it's just a little bit of a balanced approach. A balanced approach gives you legitimacy to me, right? When you can calm collectively and present some facts and say, like, if anybody believes that, like, their news source is giving them the 100%, right? Like, if you want to come out and compare the two things, like, hey, I read this from this scientist and I read this from this free-thinking hippie, and comparatively, they disagree with each other 100%. So where are we going to meet in the middle here? Where can we find the actual truth? I think that's a completely reasonable conversation, and I think there's good to come from it. But, like,
shouldn't we be above all of that, though? I mean, shouldn't the church be the anchor in this whole time, saying, "Hey, so what if we all die?" Right? I mean, to live is Christ, to die is gain. I don't understand the panic.
So does that bring comfort to people that don't know Jesus?
Well, I'm just saying we shouldn't be panicking all crazed, because
correct.
That just shows we don't get our own faith.
Well, right. It should be, that should at least be reflected in our attitude.
Right.
I suppose, like, even if you're going to engage in conversations like that, to what sense is your panic coming from? You're not acting like a person who is otherwise anchored in something more secure. Although I will say we run a risk. I think I don't know how many times I saw it. If I saw it 5 times, I saw it 50. Where people were posturing from the church as if we could just do what we want here because the Lord is protecting us. That's not why, right? So, like, there's the false anchor. I don't worry about any of this because God says He will protect me. I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah, where'd he go during the bubonic plague then? He was on vacation in Venus? Right? Like, that's a legit disease.
Yeah, and it was so, well, maybe it was, I was surprised. There's certain places where I expect to see it. I saw it, again, easily half a dozen to a dozen people where I'm like, really?
Do they understand every one of the Bible writers have died?
Yeah.
All of them.
Like,
I mean,
Peter
horribly.
Where was their faith?
They're nailing Peter to a cross just before they turn him upside down. He's like, the Lord promised He would protect me. Like, no, and like that's where some of this, the ill-fated, hey, we have to still meet thing, like, it will be fine. God may even do that. I don't know. He may even do that. But I mean, I think you are. It's very tenuous your grip on Scripture for everybody that's ever died with that understanding. And you're telling me no one that's died of this disease is a Christian? Come on.
Yeah.
And so, like, frankly, a time when the church can actually present hope to the world, it's easy for them to go, look at those stupid Christians. Right. They say God will protect them. My grandpa's a Christian. He died of COVID-19. These guys are lying.
Right.
And their peace in the matter is fake.
Yeah.
They may have legit peace, but you just got to be careful what you're saying. We're tying it to. I think you're very basically they're picking and choosing, in situations that weren't actually going on. Yeah, and I was surprised because it was many. All right. Good. Hey, I think circumstances may dictate it, so we'll see how next week goes. My goal is to not talk about this next week.
Okay.
Let's find out.
I didn't think we'd talk nearly this long.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
Everybody's thinking about it. I mean,
like, you can't ignore your surroundings. Yeah. We'll do a secular Solomon next week. But here's the thing. I don't know. Besides the fact that I think there is something about your local congregation. For you guys that are listening, I think there's something about it being us. We're having a conversation that maybe other people are having. Hopefully, like, just so you know, this is the stuff that we're thinking about. If you've come to any level of trust or at least confidence that we attempt to talk something faithfully, this is our attempt to do that. But here's the thing: there is a point where we're adding to noise, and it's not helping. It's not doing anything either way. So next week.
Yeah, we'll roll it back.
Okay, we'll see if we can find something else to do. But Mike, you had an interesting question before the show started.
So my question is like, if this continues, which we believe that it probably will, and it extends past through Easter, do you think that people in general, like the church as individually, would celebrate Easter at home? Right? Like they'd get the Bible out and read it, or sing some worship tunes over the Amazon or whatever? Or do you believe that, like, most of folks, if the setup wasn't there, if the church was not available to go to and participate in the service, and people were just left on their own, that they wouldn't do anything? Like, they would acknowledge it was Easter. It's not like they'd be like, oh, I'm done with Jesus, right? But like, not
he's still dead. There's a virus.
Yeah. Do you think they would just go? I mean, the celebration is done by the pastor and the worship guy and the people that work at the church. We just attend it, But like, given to our own devices, I suppose we'll just get together as a family and have a meal, and I suppose that's
just
it.
Ignore the whole
right
significance to our faith
Correct.
of that day
Is
because
that-
there's no one to lead you.
Is
and
it a
hold your
production
hand.
put on by the church? I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. Like if people were to if the church stopped doing Christmas celebrations, my family would still be up in the morning opening presents and do a whole day thing, and it's Christmas, right? That would continue. Does Easter carry the same weight? Would Easter continue on as Easter at individual homes, or if the church cannot get together as a community, do you think most people would just let it pass?
I would hope not. I really would hope not. I'm optimistic, but I would hope they wouldn't ignore. I mean, there is nothing more foundational to our faith than the resurrection. That's it. That's it. But I don't know. I'm in the preacher bubble for 36 years now, so it's hard for me to put myself into the non-preacher bubble as an adult.
Yeah.
With a family.
I mean, I certainly surround myself with a bunch of people that I think would absolutely continue this on and do things. But I was trying to think what mine would look like, right? And I don't know. I don't know.
I wonder if we have this becomes a discipleship question to a certain extent, and I think an influence question from the church's perspective is it possible that we have set up a situation where people even would want to but feel like they don't know what to do? Like, what would I do? Does it feel goofy? Actually, that's a good question to ask yourself now. Let's say that you can't meet with anybody and you can't no streaming or whatever.
And the internet's down.
Yeah. You got to do something at home. Does it feel awkward to you, dad, mom, to get out the Bible and say, let's read this as a family? Does that feel weird? Because it might. And you think to yourself, because that's how you might do it. Hey, let's reread the story, and then we can think. Does it feel weird to say, hey, let's intentionally gather, and maybe not just tucked onto a bedtime where somebody sneaks in and does it, but not at a dinner so that we have a closed time frame of which they're going to do something else. But this is the thing we're doing. We're going to come together and we're going to intentionally pray together. Does that feel weird? And I'm not judging you if it does. I'm just asking you, does it feel weird? Because if it does, that's probably a good thought to say, how do we do this so that this doesn't feel weird? Because it shouldn't. Because that's what Easter probably would look like is Christians getting together, whether it's a family or others, reminding yourself of what it is that Jesus has done and that he resurrected, and that gives us all the hope that our faith promises, and then celebrating that and giving thanks and praying together, and not in some pre-prescribed way, but just a way that flows out of your heart from having gone through the process and learned and talked and shared and celebrated. And if it feels awkward, that's a good place to start. Find the things where, if this would feel weird, we should probably start doing that, because it shouldn't feel weird. And I wonder if, this goes back to the conversation from earlier about trying to be content pushers. If the church it certainly feels like this is not even all the church's responsibility. This is a consumerism thing. Just because you do something doesn't mean it's content. It couldn't just be proper church interaction. But if we start taking it in that way, and then we don't actually have a way that it translates into what our everyday life looks like, and couldn't do Easter on our own because we would feel so awkward because there's not a professional around or an elder around or someone or a seasoned person around to do it, that's exactly the thing to start digging in on, because we should be able to do that. My guess is, Mike, is what I think. I think there's some people that just wouldn't, because the shape isn't there. We go to church on Easter. If church isn't going on Easter, they just don't go. And it might come up in a random prayer. They might watch King of Kings or something, but that's probably it. I think you have probably a broader bucket of people who would go, yeah, okay. But then they would feel totally weird and underqualified or awkward trying to lead that in their houses. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, and that's you, praise God that he brought that to light. This is a good place to start.
Yeah. Well, maybe they would feel awkward because they're trying to duplicate what they see in a church setting.
Yeah.
And this isn't a church setting. It's you at home with your family. You are the church, but it's not corporate. It's you guiding your family in the faith. What more holy thing is there to do?
Right.
I mean, how cool is that? Hopefully you're doing that anyway. But I mentioned earlier that I think my most meaningful worship every single year is on the way. It's Easter morning, and I'm in the car driving to the church building. Has nothing to do with the church building, nothing to do with what's going to happen, nothing to do with programming, choirs, bells, cowbells, anything. It's just like this moment of holy cow. I mean, he's trying to imagine what was that like. I mean, no one saw it, in this dark tomb, and whatever that looked like. Did his eyes open? Just what did that look like? It's just this moment of all history changed at that moment. Everything changed. Everything. And for some, just because it's Easter, I guess that's why it just hits me extra. I don't know why any family couldn't sit there and just say, guys, think about this. I mean, it doesn't have to be some ornate lesson plan with,
right.
Puppets or something. I mean, it's just, guys, look what happened. What do you think it looked like?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would happen if he didn't come back? I mean, you can have all kinds of conversation.
Yeah. And I wonder if, I think that's it. Like they get you people again, wrong impression. You feel like you have to reproduce something that's happening in a corporate space like that in your home, you don't.
No.
You just like Christians been doing this for years. We get together and we pray and we share scripture and we talk about it and we make sure we feel like we understand it and we sing and then we go. And like that's the same basic shape as your normal church service, except for you're not having to do it in front of a bunch of people. You don't have to prepare a bunch of things. Yeah. The Bible's already there. That's the good thing. I'll tell you this. This is one of the things that has been proven out to me over and over again from a house church perspective. We just don't have anything else going on. The Scripture is it's always there. There's always. I could be out sick for a week. It doesn't matter. The Scripture is there. Someone else will pick it up and read it. We're fine. Everybody knows how to pray. The show will always move on without me because I'm not the prime part of the program. The Scripture is. Now, that's true for churches anyway. You just don't think of it that way because someone had to type up the slides and someone had to create the manuscript and someone had to, right? Yeah, so, but it's still that. It's just you have to prepare it differently when you're talking to 250 people than you do for 40. But like, you have all the tools. Jesus, the Spirit's in you. The Bible is generally available in your hand or digital copy. You just fine. You could handle this on your own. Your church could completely shut down for 3 months. And Dad, you'd be fine. Mom, you'd be just fine. Go ahead and teach it at home. There's not an inadequate because the Bible's adequate. There's not an inadequate because you're praying faithfully. You're not going to fail because God is with you and he won't let you fail in something where you're trying to honor him. So, I don't know. Maybe to that point, I think we most probably wouldn't. One, because some folks wouldn't do it. Two, because they would feel inadequate. I think we can move the inadequate part. I think there's a way to do it. Buva?
I have way less faith in people.
He's a pessimistic Pete.
I 100% am. I think it would be unrecognizable for people. Absolutely unrecognizable. I think without the structure, they're lost. And I think without the concept of somewhere to go, most of these people are going to be lost and have no idea what they're going to do. I would say most of them would have to go based off of, I know there's a gospel that has this story in it. Or I may know that it's Matthew, Mark, or Luke, or John. They couldn't tell you where it's at. They would have to flip through to try and find anything about Jesus' resurrection. They may read it. Great. But for those that read it, I think it's even smaller of a people that would actually try and take in the weight of the Scripture and bathe it in prayer and presence of the Holy Spirit and kind of stuff. And I think it would be more ritual than anything. And I'm sorry, I'm just super pessimistic about it.
He's not feeling it.
I wonder how many would just turn on the TV and whatever.
Yeah, I think they would try and I think they would try and find a show. Some of them may try and find some VeggieTales, admittedly.
We should watch The Passion, don't you think?
Yeah, let's watch The Passion of the Christ. We know it ends that way.
That's the thing. I do watch The Passion.
I'm going to say, actually, that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, but there's an intent towards it. There's an intent and understanding that goes towards that. There's a difference between... Yeah, you guys get it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think we can recognize that is true. But that situation for me isn't without hope. They're missing. I think they're missing it, right? These are the same things where if all we've delivered to people is that they know what to look out for, or they feel like they know what to watch, but they've not. There's nothing internal about them where they have studied Scripture or read it with any consistency that they would know where the story is at,
right?
Or that they pray fervently and believe that God makes a change. that's too bad. Like, they're not getting the full sense of peace and freedom and joy and connectedness with and guidance of the Spirit in their lives for not having that. And I think we do see that quite a bit. And I think that's too bad. But their intent of their heart is still to say, I want to honor. I actually just don't know how. I'm not sure how to go about this. And I've got a false impression of how disassociated it is from me personally that I can do this. And maybe if we believe that's to be true, and I think it probably is, boy, what a cool focus for the church is to remind people that they actually could do this on their own. And I think we start to get at that with some of the ministries, men's groups and small groups and things like that. But even then, there's always generally still somebody leading it, where you have a smaller leader that's not the pastor, but he's somebody else, and still everyone else is deferring to them to do it. There's not a personal sense that, like, no, realistically, we could drop you anywhere and you'd be just fine, Christian. And if we can build that up in people, I think some of it's lack of tools, some of it's lack of initiative, and they just don't want to do it. But, like, I'm more hopeful in that situation, because I think you're right, but I am hopeful about it because I think it's something you can help.
Yeah, I think we start doing that now. I think we start having those conversations now. Absolutely, I agree with the concept. I appreciate the hopeful thought process you have. I certainly hope that that's true.
Not been my experience, though.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Boov on this thing.
Yeah,
It's just
I haven't seen it.
And to be honest, when I say not my experience, I include myself in that bucket.
Same.
Yeah.
Same, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, admittedly, it's I honestly believe that I really only have been seeking God for the last 8-9 months, like really hardcore. Before that, it was, I mean, just straight up lukewarm, if not cold. And last Easter, if this would have happened, I would not have even opened my Bible. Would not have. Not once. I probably wouldn't have watched.
How long
the
you been
Passion.
going to church, Boova?
Since I was 10.
10.
So almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Okay.
My dad was a pastor.
Right. Just putting marks in the sand because Boov is talking honestly here.
Yeah,
like
no.
he's a church goer for the last 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years roughly. Baptized twice. But
The second time I wore Pam so it wouldn't stick to me.
yeah.
Sprayed in the face with the Lysol bottle.
And yeah, like I honestly being boldly honest about this, I don't think I would have cracked my Bible open.
Are you more optimistic, Dan, or no?
well,
I mean, the world isn't entirely full of Boovas, but like I can echo some of what is coming out of his mouth, right? I just can.
as you're talking, here's the verification. It just go back to prayer. People
Yeah.
won't even pray. If I'm in
Right.
the room, they have to have the preacher pray.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Agreed.
I mean, and I like resist that so badly, and I'm like, anybody can pray.
Right.
Oh no, you better pray.
Yeah. You are the one of the obvious authority in the room. You need to be the one
Oh,
who's praying.
no.
I mean, they won't even pray.
It's ridiculous.
Pessimistic
For-
Pete
for-
is
for
making
food.
disciples.
I'm sorry. Here's the deal. It kills me. It absolutely kills me because last year to this year I will absolutely be opening my Bible. This year, 100%. I'm not going to seek out media for it. I'm going to seek out Yahweh. That's what I'm going to do because I'm going to get a chance to go, hey, Papa, I want to remember the story about you letting your son die but then resurrecting him so that he can completely take on the weight of sin and break it. And it no longer holds power over me. Thank you for that peace. Thank you for that joy. Thank you for that freedom. Because, Lord, you know I hate chains, and you tell me to get away from them, right? Like, I'm thankful I have that. And I wish that for a lot of people. And I try and live my life so that I'm not just wishing for that. I'm actually trying to do that with people. It's like, guys, you get that too. This is a thing that you can have. A gift that is not for me. It's for you also. But, like, I really think that this year will be telling of the lack of real relationship that the church has with its groom, and it scares me, and it should scare the crap out of us. Like literally, it should be going to us like, hey, this is our job. This isn't on God. This is on us. Like if we have people that we know that are living in this kind of thing, they're 2 feet away from us. No pun on social distancing, but they're 2 feet away from us right now.
Not too close.
And
That's
and
the problem.
literally, I'm not certain if the people that I've run into in the last 15 years of my life, that every single one of them understands what this time is and understands what that day is representing and understands the weight of the resurrection of Christ and what that means for them. And I say that to my shame. And I say
so
that,
how many people show up to Easter service knowing that Dan's all fired up? They're like, yeah, Dan's fired up.
Right.
Right? This is a great day.
Uh-huh.
And the preachers play into that because they're all fired up.
And of course the preacher's fired up because yeah, you know. And I think I once again, maybe me and Boover just cut from a negative shadow cloth here, but like I know, I think that we've very much relaxed what Acts intends for hierarchies within the church.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, so like regular dudes in Acts 2 were responsible for what Ben and Dan are responsible for.
Yeah.
Right? Ben and Dan were doing other things, right? Like still preaching, still teaching, right? But like discipling your family, talking to people about a God that you know that sent his son to die for you. These were everybody problems. These are things no one invited you to church. They invited you to their house.
Right.
Because they wanted to talk to you about Jesus. And then when you got pumped, they're like, I know a bunch of people. We get together on Saturday, Shabbat.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're going this way.
It wasn't inviting people to church. It was, you're next to me. It's time to talk.
But how many people run into this where they're like, hey, you should come to my church to learn about Jesus? Because Dan will tell you. Or Ben will tell you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I got you and thought, well, what if they asked me about Jesus? I wouldn't know what I would say. What do you mean you don't know what you would say? What are you doing here then? And Mike, still guilty, right? Like push come to shove, like have a help me. Have for your faith. Have an explanation for your faith. James, something.
Peter.
See? Nothing. Mike and Bova out. No disciples. Bunch of window lickers. That's all we got.
Yeah.
Bunch of window lickers.
Apparently, I'm a total window licker.
Okay.
Hey, at least I get the top parts.
Here's the thing.
I had the short kid.
Here's where I'm optimistic, though. Like
me and Bova should have talked you out of this already.
No. Here's the deal.
No, keep your optimism.
I have the hope of Jesus says you can continue to invite people deeper. Jesus continues to invite people deeper. Every one of his disciples was a dummy. Right? Like, and so I think what the lesson here, or the strong takeaway, is that I think it does have to be a very clear awareness of that this is something that we risk producing.
Yeah.
That we risk simply by the nature of the society that we're in, and the form of which the church functions in our society. It's something that is a risk. That is inherent in how we do things.
Right.
And it's not even how the church has chosen to do things. It's a risk in the American society because we simply don't behave in such a communal manner.
Right.
People are used to consuming. They're used to moving in and out. If you present something so that they don't recognize at all, they simply won't interact with it. And so is it okay to have bridges in there? Yes. But I think we do have to retain an awareness that if we're not continuing to invite people deeper and deeper into those things, we are leaving them in a place of which they don't get the fullness of the relationship with God. And frankly, we are ineffective parts of the kingdom because you're putting a lot of pressure on people, on pastors specifically, to lead people to Jesus with their content.
Right.
It may do it. Some people respond to that, but I'm the shifting of the souls does not happen primarily on words like that. People's ears get tickled. People even go, "Hey, that's interesting." But the thing that changes them, think of it this way: the thing that chases that where people leave the church, one of the prime reasons people leave the church nowadays is because they know somebody who is behaving in such a way that the church does not affirm, and they feel for them. It's a behavior. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with the rules or the social mores or the laws within Scripture. It's simply they have a relationship and they say, God says this is not all right, or doesn't affirm this type of behavior, this way of thinking, or this lifestyle, and they see that and they go, oh, I don't like that, actually. I don't like that the church doesn't affirm this relationship that I have. These are nice people. I love them. I don't like that that's how it feels. And so they're willing to walk away from church, from this established religion, because of that. Now, you tell me that the force of how things change for Jesus is Dan's words on a Sunday morning. I think they're great. It serves the kingdom well. I think they matter. But I'm telling you, the force of how people behave, it's on the ground. The things that actually change and shift and invite them deeper is on the ground. The reason people are likely to step in and start praying and start digging in Scripture and hold their own Easter services, whether the church is on or not, is because they saw it modeled and they liked it. They felt a connection to something. They said, boy, this feels genuine, this feels real. And it doesn't discredit the things that got them there, but it says, I saw it happening. Dan could talk all day on a Sunday morning and say, you need to read your Bible more. You should be able to do this at home. And they'll hear it, and they'll agree with it, and then it won't happen. Happen over and over and over again. But Dan could retire on a penny for every person who said, yeah, and then didn't do it. Okay, I'm halfway there. So there is
just off of Troy not doing
just
it.
off of Troy. That's right.
Yeah, Dan, I apologize. I didn't want that to be a, hey, man, you were my pastor for like 16 of those years, man. What the heck?
I didn't do nothing.
I can't make you eat.
That was, no, you're right. That was just as I know he doesn't require this or anything like that, but just a heads up, Dan has done a phenomenal job of loving me over my whole life, like was my dad's best friend. Has remained in my life wholeheartedly the entire time and has never once given up on me, even in a couple years where it's like, hey, where's Boova been? The people that are long-term listeners of this show can attest to the fact that there was a while that I just wasn't
he just
here.
was gone. I was
kind of
probably
not
all reading
here,
the scripture.
and I was working downtown in bars, and like most of the time I couldn't show up because I was working. Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm back. I appreciate y'all loving me. I mean that a whole bunch.
Hey, you're patting my retirement. I'm good.
Apparently, Dan has a bunch of my pennies in a jar. Just a thought process though. My pessimism doesn't come with defeat by any means.
Agreed.
My pessimism comes with a call to be emboldened. This is our time to work. This is our time to. This is God's time to shine.
Yep.
Like you cannot take the pessimism that Mike and I are offering right now and go, oh man, and Eeyore it back to your living room. It's not acceptable.
No,
You
and I
can't
refuse
contain
to
the
do
Holy
that
Spirit,
also,
my friend.
Yeah, exactly. That's not okay. This is not in any way, shape, or form okay. What I'm saying should not be oh man, he's right.
Right.
Dang it.
We're just lost.
We're defeated.
The whole
No,
thing is lost.
there's nothing inherently
Just cancel
defeated
Easter
about
this
this.
year.
Yahweh still
Here's
wins
the
this.
thing.
You are wrong if you think you are defeated and have lost. God
Yeah.
has not lost anything.
God does continue to work, and He does work through mega churches. He works through
Absolutely,
small
yeah.
churches. And
Yeah.
He works through home churches, and He works through
He works
all
through
the,
deer
all
in
the
a
things
field
out
if he
there.
wants to.
That's why there's all kinds of different people.
I
call those idiots on social media because they don't worship the Lord the way I
You're
do.
while you are an
See it the way
idiot.
I do, you fool.
You say Yahweh, I say no way.
Oh no, that's a T-shirt. Nope.
Social media for the win.
Oh no.
So I think, and Dan and I had this conversation on a radio about just basically about between like big churches, small
Say
churches.
on a radio?
It wasn't here. It was
Okay.
it was on a different thing.
Wait a minute, why weren't me and Boova invited to this deal?
Special
They
people.
knew that we were lukewarm. They knew that we were going to be pessimists. in
Other
the
around, who's
situation.
reading their Bible?
Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
We're on the pessimistic evangelical
I know you
radio.
guys are trying to talk about some serious stuff, but Mike and I have got some really sob stories to tell about it. Man, I recently didn't read my Bible. Oh, man.
The point was is that so it does we talked about it. It does take all kinds, and I think like if you think about big church, small church, house church, whatever. They all just have their own different sets of risks. Do I think from a guy who runs a house church, like my risks are different than a church that's running 250 or 300 or 1,000? It's what's unique that we're less likely to struggle with is the very thing that we're talking about, because people are used to doing things small. They're used to taking responsibility within a group, within a family, to read, to pray, to teach, to do whatever, because our environment facilitates that. Do I recognize my implication wasn't, Dan, like for example, that your words are wasted on a Sunday, but
No, I get it.
The point was to say.
Damn, this has been a real interesting night for you. Sorry about that.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go.
But I think the point is to say like that there's just the risks and the bigger you are, right, is it gets farther away from people feeling like they can do that, right. Whereas from a smaller church perspective, you run a major risk of feeling insular. Oh hey, we're nailing this thing in the living room. Okay, great. We don't have open doors.
Right.
Someone can't just walk in, so you have to invite people in. Like it takes a different type of work, and the folks that like house church tend to be the people that are insular like that. They tend to be the people who aren't super outgoing. They tend to be introverted, and so like that's our risks. Those are our risks. And so it takes all kinds. But here's what the thing is, though. Regardless of what the entry point is, it does actually all boil down to the same basic types of things.
Yeah.
And you're all hedging. You say, well, these are the risks that we have. We have to do this to hedge against those. Other churches in different shapes and sizes have to hedge against heading back the other way.
Given the option to listen to you talk about the gospel, I went over and made an Insta-Keurig.
That's the gurgling.
That's where we're at, Ben.
I'm going to invite you to something just a bit deeper.
I won't go. If Boova don't go, I don't go. Boova, lead me in this
Hey, man,
way.
I'm trying. I'm trying to go. I'm going to be reading my Bible this year on Easter, I promise. I don't care who's meeting. And I'm going to invite people in my home. I don't care. I don't have that big of a place, but I can fit a couple.
Hey, so real quick, speaking of bad decisions, I fired up a Live from the Past store this week.
Oh, that sounds like a terrible
Okay,
decision.
hold on. Now I gotta double check.
Please tell me there's a shirt that says Yahweh or no way.
No, wait, Mike.
now.
Mike,
So actually, I just considered the fact that is probably definitely using the Lord's name in vain, and I'm going to retract it.
Yeah.
There's a
oh
bit-
crap! You led me into this, Mike.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't done it now because
Mike
I mean,
sinned and you celebrated.
yeah,
No,
it's
I
not
sure
really
did.
that.
Dang it.
I didn't see it as a big deal until I said it. I'm like, you know what? That is totally.
If you read your Bible, you'd know that
That is
stuff.
not. That is not the way to do that. So now I'm rescinding that, and that's no good
Hey, man. Why?
Canaanite.
Why is that using it in vain?
because I'm.
It's a proper noun.
Yeah, but I'm. The name carries more than that. The
Agreed.
name carries more weight and glory and honor than that, and I used it in a passing joke to satisfy the comedy of 3 people in a room. I wish I wouldn't have done it. That's all. I don't know
Okay,
if it's a mortal
interesting.
sin or anything.
Okay, so here you go. If you go to livefromthepath.org/shop, you can pick up another number of sweet items. You can pick up the Life from the Path latte mug, a thrift store priest fashion tee, available in both light and dark colors. Hey man, that thrift store priest fashion tee.
What is a
cool.
latte cup versus a regular cup?
It's bigger.
Yeah.
There's a sweet hoodie out there, a couple t-shirts, a trucker hat, a woman's organic tee for
Yeah,
$15.
who's that lone wolf running the hat?
I thought he looked cool.
Were you inspired? We had our guest here on recently that
Yeah, actually,
I was
yeah.
gonna say that's a very valid point. We just had a
Hey, we can
brand
do that.
ambassador over here, and now
No.
we're like, we could make T-shirts.
So I had intended this was remember that this year I was trying to figure out ways to actually pay for the program, so I didn't have to
valid
keep
point.
paying for stuff out of my pocket. And putting a shop together was an idea that I had, and then I hadn't done it. And then that guy was in, and I thought, oh yeah, I was supposed to put a shop together. And luckily, and don't tell anybody, but I've been working from home, and sometimes I have a little downtime, and my other computer's over here to the right, and so I've been setting up a small shop.
Hey man, can I get a Live from the Path like giant mug that's like 64 ounces?
They don't offer those on our print provider.
How do I can? Okay,
I want that thrift store priest mug.
Isn't it pretty cool?
Yeah, it is.
It looks pretty awesome. Anyway, there's some good options out there.
store
You should have wrote thrift store priest though. You should have just wrote TSP.
Yeah, people are like, what's teaspoon?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's not going to come
Teaspoon
off right.
priest.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Hey man, teaspoon priest kind of works too.
Yeah.
live from the. Hey, so I needed a better picture of it from the pictures that I'd taken, and so I went and looked online, and there's people selling the thrift store priest on eBay for $40.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
So if we need to make
Who-
some money for the show, we could sell our mascot.
Yeah.
Who's it supposed to be?
They said
Saint
praying
Michael.
monk, wooden praying monk, and there's like a whole set of them. Like there's one that's
What?
kneeling, and then there's
We need the set.
Yeah, we do need the set.
okay.
I mean, we have
Hey.
a display case.
You know,
that's right.
You know,
That's right.
that we currently have a head in,
Yeah.
a head that has Christmas lights in it.
That display case has seen no more action than the day when this desk was installed.
Right.
And
There's
no one
nothing
has
that's
touched
been
it
in that
since.
except for the random cord that makes its way back there, and we're like, where'd that cord go?
In fact, now that it occurs to me, I don't know that we've ever wiped this desk down in the
Not-
7 years it's been
I
here.
will tell you, I have personally never done it. I know that I've brought trash up here.
And then
I
someone
can tell you that
someone takes it out every once in a while. I don't know who.
I have been a part of the problem.
just
Never
keep-
once part of the solution.
I keep adding to the garbage can out there and assume someone that goes to church will get sick
sure
of it.
hope so.
Take it out.
Oh no. Sorry,
Okay.
Dan.
All right. Anyway, that's livefromthepath.org/shop.
You and our apologies.
And yeah, now here's the thing: the stuff's a little pricey. I don't like. This is the whole reason I never want to set anything up because to make any money at all, the shirt's got to be like $20. I'm like, yeah, $20.
What?
I wouldn't buy that for $20. But here's the deal: I have on occasion enjoyed people and wanted to support what they were doing, and I paid the $20 for the shirt. And so, look, if you dig on the show, or you just like the thrift store priest, and you want to pick up something, just know it costs money to be on the air. Like the internet's free, but like the equipment costs some money. We got to host a website
Actually,
and stuff.
I mean, Pathway Church donates us the internet. It's
Yeah,
not actually free.
we're not. That's true. We're not paying for the internet. Now, I think they're running it anyway, which means you can drive in the parking lot and use the Wi-Fi, and Dan's not likely to chase you off.
He hasn't to me yet.
But yeah. Anyway, just know that whatever. Every once in a while we need equipment. We got to pay for web hosting, and that's where the money's going for. Or I might buy a soda with it. But
Is there a T-shirt that has your and Mike's face on it?
no.
Can we make that happen?
Why would you want that?
Because that sounds awesome.
You gonna wear a
I'm
shirt?
surprised that neither of you freaked out about the fact that I don't want a shirt with my face on it. I just want you guys' face.
I think you already have that.
Yeah, I think.
No,
you-
I don't have a me face shirt. I've intentionally, as a step to never go on that level of pride, kept myself from a Buva shirt
You've
ever.
never put on a clean white tee, stood in the mirror and looked at your own face and tried to draw. Your own face on a white shirt?
That's never
Hey,
happened.
let
You
me
realize
ask-
how expensive white shirts are for a guy my size, Mike.
Let me ask,
My white T-shirt is 4 of yours, and the price is reflected.
Dang it.
Mike, let me ask you this question. If we were to make a shirt with Boova's face on it,
No.
what would the tagline be?
Boy. You know what? I could put him the slogan that he is in my phone.
What does it say?
What?
Fart in the wind. Every time he calls me, I'm not sure where he's at or what he's doing or where he's coming or where he's going. And so when he calls me, his name comes up in my phone as Fart in the
It's a
wind.
valid point. Every time I call Mike, I usually am asking him a car question.
Yeah. Something
Or
bad's
asking for him to come take care of my car.
It means I left him somewhere and then I come back, he's not here no more.
Hey, man, that's a valid point. I would totally buy a
That got
t-shirt
changed
has
when he
Fart in the
was on
Wind
his sabbatical from coming to the show. I said, until he changes his ways, he's going in as Fart in the wind, and I
That's
ain't changed it
phenomenal.
back.
I friggin' love it.
All right, put the thing on it.
Hey, complaint line. What would you put on the shirt?
Yeah, hey, what do we put on the Boova shirt? 515-517-0085. 515
Yeah, I don't want the Boova fan club calling in. Oh, he's the best.
You think there's a Boova fan club?
Yeah, I know you got more friends than I do.
Mike, let's be honest with ourselves. That is not a difficult feat.
That's true. I got a cardboard box more popular on Facebook.
I was going to say, Mike, you generally come off as a curmudgeon to anybody that doesn't actually know you who you are. And you in social situations is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Just a reminder, at one point in time, Mike and I went to a Panera Bread. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life because we walked in because his wife had asked us to grab a couple loaves of bread for some kind of occasion. I think it was a holiday.
I don't remember.
But I can't remember what it was. And we walk in, and I'm prepared for the social niceties of being in a Panera Bread. Mike is 100% unprepared at this jovial, nice person that walks over and is excited about the fact that they've got like 47 different types of bread, pretty much going, "What kind of bread do you want, sir?" Living up to the training and their hiring process and what was expected. And Mike's response is basically, I just need bread. Just get me. And he did everything but just point at colors that he wanted. Like, that one seems brown. That one's a lighter brown. And do you have whole wheat? This artisanal bread wall of baskets of loaves of bread, and he's just like, whatever. And just watching the life leave this person as they tried their hardest to be excited for Mike today.
That was a tough
He
day.
walks in, just booted up. Whatever you got, I guess.
He tried to get me to join the bread club.
Oh my gosh! I wish I would have known beforehand. I would have video recorded this entire thing. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I need you to ask that question a little bit louder and into the microphone. What exactly would you like this man to sign up for? Your bread club? Yeah, and it was after the
come with
fact
a
that you had
t-shirt?
said a couple, like, whatever you got.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, this seems like the kind of guy that's excited about an online bread rewards club. Yes.
Not
Can
this
we
day
get
and
you to be
age.
one of our VIP 8 members? Absolutely. So I say again, it is not that difficult to have more friends than you.
Okay.
There is no Boova fan club.
So that did make me think, for the shirt with Mike's face on it, it's going to say, can I just get some bread daily if you got it?
I dig it.
With
Hey,
Mike's face.
Remember we were going to have the app that had a screen in it that said, "Do not trust this man"?
Yes.
This man can't be trusted.
Yeah.
That's on my list of things to do. Here's the thing, is I was kind of hoping, this sounds terrible, but that this virus thing would free up some of my time. I am busier than ever. My work is harder, and I'm doing it all from home, and, like, I got no time. And people are like, boy, I've watched every movie on Netflix, and I rearranged all of my flowers to spell my name. Now what do? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on over there. I'm busy.
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe I'd get to making that app, but I just ain't got around to it yet.
There's a ton. I mean, seriously, go back and listen to pick a date a year back and listen to all the shows up to this point. We've put out 75 T-shirt ideas. We just don't catch them. We do a lot of quippy weirdness.
Okay. All right, I'll just start picking them up, start putting some hey, I am going to do a Be Faithful to Means, God Will Handle the Ends poster or something, or maybe a mug.
Why not a shirt?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I could do a shirt.
It's just kind of weird that we've been throwing out T-shirt ideas, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to do this on a
It
poster.
seems like a thing something I put on the wall.
No one's going to put that on the wall.
No,
yeah.
Put the TSP on there, and that phrase.
Okay, TSP says,
I have a shirt press downstairs.
What?
We make our own shirts now.
hey,
Dan,
sweet.
we're 20 minutes into this shirt conversation. You're just now
I'm
throwing this out there?
You know, I'm just saying.
We even talked about the price of our shirts.
I know. I can greatly reduce them.
Okay.
Hey, Ben.
What?
I heard recently that there's a guy that we know that has a T-shirt press, and he's saying he can greatly reduce the price of our shirts. What do you think?
No, I'm going to charge the same amount. We are going to make more, though.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that we're broadcasting this on the air so that our listeners know that, yeah, we're going to make more money off of that, but we're not going to lie to you about it.
Does this look like a rich organization here? We could use it.
Valid point.
Okay.
I'm going to have to jump my car when I get out of here. There's nothing rich about this organization, guys.
We just have to make the transfers online, but I can put them on here.
Okay.
Sweet.
We're going to talk it over. Mike, what do you got?
Dear Life from the Path, my husband Charlie and I have been married for 7 years. We are in our mid-60s.
Ooh.
This is the second marriage for both of us. I hope so. He was widowed some years before we met. We have a good marriage. He is sweet and caring, but one issue causes friction between us. It's about letters he and his late wife exchanged. They were high school sweethearts. She kept all the letters he sent her when he was away in college, and after she died, he wanted to keep them. It bothers me that he's still attached to them. Whenever we talk about the subject and I ask him to dispose of them, he gets defensive, says he doesn't understand why it bothers me, and accuses me of being unreasonable. He says I don't even, quotes, let him have a picture of his late wife among our family pictures around the house. My first marriage was very troubled, and I never wanted a picture of my late husband, but Charlie's was a happy one. Am I unreasonable, or is it time to let the past stay in the past, as painful as it might be to detach from objects that were an intimate part of his previous marriage?
Okay. So, I feel like you answered your own question by talking about your situation. That your marriage was troubled.
Yeah, right.
And his was sweet and great.
Yeah.
And it ended through death. But it didn't end for him. Like, it may have ended from the practical perspective if he is no longer with his physical wife because she's passed away, but he still loves her. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad of that, actually. As a matter of fact, so I have a very interesting perspective on this. So my dad passed away when I was 18. Mm-hmm. And my mom was actually dating not too much longer after. It was a couple months, but it wasn't too much longer after. Long story, it was actually the guy that she was dating before she met my dad, so it was a really weird way that worked out, but it was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I remember before my dad passed away, he had, it was an eerie conversation, now that I can recall it, eerie conversation with my brother and I, and said, if I ever pass away, your mother will have to meet someone. And we kind of didn't understand what that meant. We're like, what does that mean, Dad? And he goes, well, if I ever pass away, your mother will need someone. It's just the kind of person she is. She will need someone. And it's not a detrimental thing. My mother was very strong in many ways, and he loved her with all of her heart, his heart, but he knew that she would need someone to get over him and like to move on. And it was something that was very odd to hear at the time, but like once he passed away and once she came to me, she had lunch with me one day and she goes, I want to tell you about someone. And it was the first time I saw her smile since my dad passed away. And she started telling me about this new guy. And I immediately just said, I love him. I love whoever this guy is, and I want you to be with him because I've never seen you this happy since Dad passed away. But he was 100% respectful of the fact that my father was the love of my mother's life, 100%. And she loved her new guy and was excited to be with him, but like she loved my father. And it was never an issue between them because he recognized that he didn't come second. It wasn't about that concept. It wasn't a ranking thing.
There's no competition.
It wasn't a competition at all in any way, shape, or form. It was she devoted her life and her heart to that man and said, till death do us part. They were physically parted, but in no way emotionally parted, but she was prepared to love him as well. And it wasn't anything where they needed to compete about something. It was literally just, she loved my father, he passed away, and then now she loves this man. And it never became an issue for my brother and I either. We were excited about that because it was my mom's happiness. This kills me to hear about this marriage. Like, he's sweet, he's loving, he's all these great things, but you can't handle the fact that he has memoirs of his previous wife. You should be excited and honored to be married to this man that is devoted, even after death, devoted to his first love. Loves you correctly, but also has love for who he has lost. I'm sorry that your first marriage was rough. I'm sorry. I can imagine how hard that must have been, and that's awful. And of course we don't want you to have a bad marriage, and there's definitely scars and wounds that come with that. But it's unfair, completely unfair, for you to put the scars and wounds that you have on your husband and become an issue in that way, shape, or form. You need to have grace and love for him, and you need to pray for peace for yourself and ask him to help you with that, because he's trying to love you correctly while honoring the memory of his late wife. I respect that, and I appreciate that. As someone who's seen widowed parents, I appreciate that. And I really wish nothing but the best for you, but you are. It's an overreaction. You need to realize that you can't let your past relationships dictate your jealousy and your inadequacy to what this relationship is now. I'm sorry.
He's being unreasonable.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say she needs to let go of her past hurt in her marriage, embrace his past joy, and then she will be able to experience that same joy in their marriage.
Share that.
Which is what you were saying. Yeah, you have an opportunity to have the greatest relationship because you know you have the greatest guy.
Right.
Right. So yeah, let it go. Let it go. It'll be hard because you haven't shared that, but you can experience it if you let that stuff go.
Yeah, allow yourself to be taught what that looks like in a relationship in practicality.
Because you're his current, and he would save your letters too.
Exactly. Yes, and that's the thing. Send him a letter. See if he'll keep it.
Do you think that people would take that well? Where like I mean, she asked the question, but like, I don't think she expects the answers to come back as you're being unreasonable.
Of course she doesn't.
Right.
This was a cry for validation.
Right. You're being unreasonable here, and so like the question is like, what do you do when you find out that you're being unreasonable and you don't actually think that you are? Obviously, if you thought you were unreasonable, you'd have changed it already.
Right.
Right. So like, in the face of something that's been going on for 7 years, and like her husband's right and she is wrong, what's the first thing that she can do to help move this along? Because no one's going to take that well.
She probably needs to get some professional counseling to resolve issues with her previous relationship.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
You know, people can help you with that stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, because that has the impact even way beyond this particular thing. Like
Right.
Yeah, that's more extensive.
You will always be if you have not let go of the anger and the hurt of that previous marriage and that previous relationship, and you're dragging that into this new one.
And it's real. It's real hurt.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not making it not
no.
a real thing. There is absolute hurt and pain to your past. There's no doubt about that. I don't seek to take away the validity of that by any means. I don't seek to minimize that either. That is real, but it can't control you. You are offering it too much power if you allow it to control who you are, and especially your current relationships. And it's not even just about the fact that it's two widows dealing with previous relationships. That's anyone in any relationship. If you are plagued by your past relationships and you allow them to incorrectly influence your current ones, that's something you need to deal with. Whether that's together, that'd be great. Go together to talk about these things so your husband can be involved in the healing process and maybe understand where you're coming from and offer you empathy and offer you help towards that and help be a rock for you in this situation. But like, talk to people about this. Resolve those issues. You can't walk around with an open wound. You can't. And there is peace to be had if you ask for the help to take care of that. As someone who's had to do that for myself, get help for that open wound. It's not fair to you. You're not being fair to yourself. And you're definitely not being fair to your spouse.
Okay, Secular says, why have you not accepted that Charlie had a life before fate intervened, took his wife, and you entered the picture? People who had miserable first marriages, as yours was, often choose not to remarry. Charlie is who he is in part because of his happy marriage to his first wife. You are making a mistake by competing with her. Stop insisting that he get rid of the old letters, which hold great sentimental value for him. And if he would like to display a photo of his late wife, quit giving him heartburn. She's part of his history, and it's his house too.
Dang.
I mean, that's a little more stern than I think we were going for.
Right, but I'm surprised Secular came with that kind of wallop.
Which is not usually her. So
no, that's not how that comes
whatever.
out. That was
usually call the police.
right. Seek counseling or call the police.
Yeah.
That was a left hook from Secular.
Yeah, it was. By the way,
cats.
this is the number to the my husband had a first wife hotline. You should call this for more help. Okay, last one. Dear Life from the Path, I am being married in a couple of months. I feel like I'm living a real life fairy tale, but not always in a good way. Wow.
Oh,
There's a dragon.
There's a malfeasance.
I'm trapped in a tower.
My fiance's stepfamily has made it clear that they do not approve of our union.
Oh my gosh.
They have gone as far as to ask me to leave him. Wait, my fiance's stepfamily.
Fiance's
So it's on his
stepfamily.
side. So
Like-
her future husband's stepdad
Even removed.
yeah, says,
up.
you should leave that guy? Boy, this is
Keep
wild.
going. Sorry.
Here we go. He is appalled by their behavior and has told them that they are no longer welcome in our lives or at our wedding.
Good.
They were livid and blamed me.
Who cares?
I don't want my wedding to be the cause of pain, so I've tried to be understanding, gracious, and forgiving. But they are toxic people.
Don't invite him.
My fiance is my very own real-life Prince Charming, and I want nothing more than to spend the rest of my life with him. Live from the path, I am terrified they are going to show up to our wedding anyway, or try somehow to sabotage it. What should I do? If they show up, shall I let them stay or have them removed? How do I prevent them from intruding in the future?
Here's the deal. You call me, I will stand at that door. Wow. I will stand at that door and keep them from walking in. That is ridiculous. And I'm proud of your fiance for standing up for his future family.
Boy, Booba, I feel like you jumped on one ship and I'm jumping on the other.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This woman sounds 8. I'm going to be married in the next couple months. She mentioned Fairy Tale and Prince Charming twice. And hold on, where's the line that really I thought settled it in? I have tried to be understanding, gracious, and forgiving. I am great. I am great.
Oh, that's true. We
They're
always do through that.
toxic people. People that use the word toxic people to describe other people.
She was asked to leave her fiance by
Yeah,
his
that's pretty
family.
toxic.
That's pretty toxic.
Now, here's the thing: is
That's straight up toxic right there.
I don't-
That's toxicity.
I don't actually believe that's how it happened. The way that she tells the story makes me believe that
you are
this did
putting
not
that on
happen.
that, though. You have no reason to believe that that's not
You
how
have
it's
no
going.
reason to believe her.
I mean, it could have been like, hey, you sure that's the right person? And she took that extreme, but
Still, that's awful. That's freaking terrible.
Here's the thing: is what you haven't considered is maybe the guy is toxic.
The dude?
Yeah,
Prince Charming?
Maybe the guy she's marrying is completely manipulative.
Oh, so you think...
Yes,
you,
I think
you think the family's trying to save her?
I think the family's right.
Oh, whatever.
it's a step family.
I think
Come on, you can't tell me that the step family is trying to save her by asking her
Yes,
not to marry him.
I think the step family is right, and I think the dude is a jerk, and I think she's way too
Where are
doe-eyed
you
to be
getting
walking
this
into
from?
this thing.
You're literally getting
Yeah.
this just because she mentioned a fairy tale of a marriage?
Twice, and she capitalized Prince and Charming.
It's a proper noun.
It is
need
a
to
fairy
know
tale
who-
name.
It's still a proper noun.
Who is the
Mike.
step family? Like, does that mean it's his mom's new husband, but the mom doesn't care, but it's just the ex, I mean...
Yeah, that
I
is
need
a
more
weird way to put that.
definition
That's a
there.
valid point. It's the step family, but not the
step
parent?
so the regular family is okay, but the step... I mean, who cares what the step family thinks?
I wonder why she called it the step family. Was it his?
I wonder if
his
mom's
new
cool with it,
dad
but mom's
and then,
new dad
like,
is
his brother or something. Like, what is a step?
That is
family?
kind of another weird thorn.
Step family.
Maybe mom died and it's the stepdad is still
Then
around.
this is Cinderella.
Yeah. So it's the stepmother. Yeah. Right, okay.
Oh man, this is 100% Cinderella.
I'm gonna show
Mike,
up
I
to our
cannot,
wedding.
I cannot agree with you.
I'm gonna show up to our wedding anyway and try to somehow sabotage it. What should I do if they show up? Should I let them stay or have them removed? I mean,
If they're showing up to
it's your husband's family. I would.
Yeah, family has to deal with family. Blood deals with blood.
Oh.
It's not even blood. It's step.
step blood.
But it's blood.
Now, I suppose I don't want to contribute to Mike's conspiracies.
but you're about to, no matter what you say, man.
So the stepdad would know.
Yes, he would.
He's the guy who's got an outside perspective on this group of hagglers.
He's the one who wormed his way in and had an affair with the mom.
Okay.
yeah.
Whoa. Holy cats. That's a telling window. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Sorry about that. Here's the deal. You guys are operating under the guise that the stepdad is trying to help the lady
Yes,
to get away from Prince Charming.
I'm
he's
saying
the
it's,
worst.
I'm saying it's possible.
I'm saying it's the deal.
saying it's possible.
He's
Why
like
is it possible?
because it's very possible that he entered into this situation and now he's trapped. And he's Lazarus. He's the guy that's
Oh my gosh.
now listen
He's
here.
Lazarus.
go tell my brothers. Tell my
Hold
brothers
up.
they don't have to have this fate.
Hold up.
Try to talk.
Did you just say he's Lazarus?
Yeah, but I mean
In the realm of possibilities, this could be a person that is in a living room speaking to a bunch of mannequins and is completely insane.
Now listen, how many times have you tried to tell a starry-eyed teenage girl or a starry-eyed girl who's in love with a guy and you're like, look, I feel like that guy is an alcoholic. You just don't want us to have our love. We were
that's true. They don't listen.
Yeah, so
Agreed. If we're talking to a 14-year-old girl,
which this one is.
you are.
I forgot to put that detail at the end. It says, "How do I prevent them from intruding in the future? By the way, I'm 14."
Did this letter start with "Dear Diary"?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I totally did, Mike. Is that where that's come from?
I'm telling you,
100
there's something real fishy about the way this letter's
Of
written.
course there is. There's always two sides to this crap, but this is a
It
ridiculous.
smells like
jump
a
to make.
doe-eyed, I'm in love with this guy, and he's a manipulative jerk, and the stepdad knows it, and he's tired of seeing him ransack ladies.
Or-
and he's trying to help.
Or it could be, in my opinion, more logically, a situation where she is not the perfect cookie cutter that the stepfamily's expecting, and they're asking her to step away from him. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, because they would be talking to her if he was the problem. If the fiance is the problem, they'd be pulling her aside saying, hey, there's some things you probably need to know.
That's what they just said.
No, she said she's trying to get him to walk away. Not you think she would
went
leave
against
out
the
the
fiancé.
detail of, for my own good, they are trying to get me away from my fiance.
They have gone as far as to ask me to leave him. Yes. Yeah, trying to get me to get away from him.
Or
what was a couple
they
sentences
don't
prior?
like me, please leave our son because he deserves better.
They didn't say that.
They didn't say, oh my gosh.
I don't know why you're reading all this weird stuff in here.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Cinderella and Lazarus
I guess we
over
could
there
just
thinks
write
I'm
whatever
reading
story
into
we
this
want,
too
can't
much.
we, Beard Man? I'm reading the text
Did you just
as
refer
given.
to me as Beard Man?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man.
You're the least
All
of
right.
these.
All right, Mike. Let's hear what Secular has to say about this one.
Secular says.
Wait, hold on. What was our?
We will not come to a resolution, man.
Okay. Okay.
Secular says, I hope when you finally graduate high school, things will be better.
Oh, man.
Junior high is a rough time.
Oh, man. It is a good place to be in these arguments when you were the man reading the phone, isn't it?
Yeah. She continues. Allow me to congratulate you and your fiancé on your upcoming nuptials and offer my sympathy for your grief, which is undeserved. You may need to hire professional security or ensure the peace, or see if security is provided at the venue.
What's up?
The way to prevent unwanted intruders in the future would be to move as far away from his family as is feasible.
Okay, now that. Oh, man. Secular really didn't help my argument.
No, you joined the ridiculous crowd.
Man, Secular, we were kind of on par with the first one. Come on, you can't. Okay, honesty. You cannot tell me that you really believe your story.
Hold on. Ignore the underlying detail.
No.
Somebody doesn't want you.
Don't do that.
Somebody,
That's it's the linchpin. That's where the whole thing lives.
It sure is, Mike. It sure is.
Listen to me.
It's where the fauna grows, man. I don't know why you're trying to throw it out with the bathwater. Just because it doesn't follow whatever you want it to follow, why don't we just change the name of the show to the Ben Show? I'm just saying, this is. I read it faithfully as to how it was written, and then you show up with your Eastern Orthodox philosophy, and you try to throw it right out.
This is the separation of the church, and we got two popes now. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just
Mike?
saying you're trying to bring strange fire in here, and I'm and I'm trying to run it straight, and I don't understand this. Why don't we just move the Sabbath to Wednesday? Is that what you guys want to do?
I'm very interested for you to read that article again, start to finish, and if there weren't any discrepancies from the original read.
I think if you look at the historical context in which it was written, like she's 14, then it makes perfect
14.
sense.
Yes. Dear Secular,
Strange mood,
I'm a
strange vibe.
14-year-old married girl.
I'm trying to get married. My stepdad's trying to shut it down. It ain't legal here in Alabama.
My future stepdad's trying to get me away from my husband, but I love him, and he treats me so good when no one's around.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah,
happened.
absolutely, Mike. That is 100% what you're trying
I knew
to say.
we'd get on the same
I dig
page.
it.
You know
I'm
what?
glad
Your-
we're finally here.
Your name's getting changed into my phone.
Yes,
to
indeed. No longer
Dependable
fart in
Boomer.
the wind. Finally upgraded. Ben, what were you going to say?
I say, here's what I need you to do. I need you to buy some shirts so we can buy some rails here, so I know when we're off them.
These
that
rail-
didn't land the way you wanted it
Yeah,
to, Ben.
this show was made for this rail.
All right, you've been listening
TSP.
to Live from the Path. That's livefromthepath.org/shop. And hit us up with a complaint line, 515-517-0085.
Hey, we seen any action on the Insta?
No. Now, hey, we got the Insta. You guys said, hey, pass the passwords around. We're going to fill it up. And no one posted anything.
I never once said that statement. I
Buva
told you I
blew
was
up
gonna
his own
create an
Insta
Instagram.
with self-aggrandizement and didn't post anything.
I'm sorry, what did I do? Dear Mike, I'm a 14-year-old girl and I'm about to get married.
you were in charge of the Life from the Path Insta, and you didn't post any of whatever pots of food that you're cooking on the Insta, on the Life from the Path Insta.
Do you guys want that content on Live for the Past page?
I mean, you didn't seem to have a problem putting it on your own page.
Because it's relevant to my page.
Are you part of Life from the Path, or are you?
Okay, deal. All my recipes are now going on Live for the
No,
Past.
all right.
Yeah, there we go. Now we've got someone
Be
discerning.
faithful.
No one
saying,
listens
no.
to Ben. Put it on there. We need some views.
Clip this and
Otherwise,
put this show on.
Otherwise, I would take a bunch of pictures of my elbow and my arm that looks like a butt. You ever see people do that?
Be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Past.
I'm going to do it right now.